Hello and welcome once again to the Joint Venture Insider Show. In case you notice, we don't have background music. There was a glitch with that, although I had the rights to use the music. A couple of platforms said, we're not going to let you use that audio for the video. So sorry, no background music. You just have my own sonorous voice. Anyway, so as always, we're going to share some upcoming promotions that you may wish to participate in or even take advantage of. And then we have an interview with Melanie Benson coming in the second half of the show. Don't let the fact that I said second half fool you into thinking this is a long show. It's still a short format show. The Joint Venture Insider Show is sponsored by the Joint Venture Insider Circle. And if you are not aware, the Joint Venture Insider Circle has an opportunities list that they share with their hundreds and hundreds of members. So if you have something where you are looking for partners of whatever kind, whether it's a summit, giveaway, launch, whatever, you should go to ultimatejvlist.com/hub-enter. That's ultimatejvlist.com/hub-enter and put in all your information there. And you can put, if you got 3 summits and a giveaway and a launch coming up, put it all in there. We want everything that you've got because that's how people find out about things they can participate in, besides, of course, this show. So coming up in a couple weeks, 2 weeks, is the JV Experience, Joint Venture Insider Circle's live event in Irvine, California. So still time to get tickets for that. If you need the links for that, you can reach out to me because for there's one, if you're a JVIC member, there's some cool options. If you're not, there's some other options. But either way, you should be there, and maybe you should be a JVIC member too while you're at it if you're not. They are still open to partners, both for this and for Collaborate, when the next Collaborate's coming, and their launches. So check that out. Also coming up, Fabienne Marneau is running the What's Next for Me Destination Harmony. This is a live retreat in San Clemente, California. And of course, looking for promotional partners with a 40% commission there. We've also got Empowering Parents, Think Virtues by Kathy Motlagh. So this is a great program. If you have people in your audience who are parents, who have kids, who care about kids, who want to empower kids, this could be valuable for you. Then we also have Igor Keifets, Listbuilding Lifestyle. His program is interesting. It teaches people how to build a list. It's kind of like JV Lite. So if you're watching this, you're probably into the JV, the affiliate space. His program is for people who don't have a program to offer, don't have a course, aren't coaches, but want to share valuable content with an audience and monetize that. So if you have people trying to get into those kinds of businesses online, then this could be a great program for them. And he has a really cool like live concept. So he records, it's a pre-recorded webinar, but then they put something on the beginning of it so that it's custom to you. It's not just going to record a webinar. So it's a really interesting concept. I'll have to get him on here to talk about how he does that at some point. Also, Kathy Burns is running Organized and Energized. The webinar is October 26th. So there is affiliate opportunity open until October 16th. And if people in your audience could benefit from being more organized, which means if there's people in your audience, most likely, because most people can benefit from being more organized, you may be interested in being a part of this. And Sam Liebowitz, Podcasting Your Passion, is a webinar, launch a webinar coming up. So information about this in the notes. And then, of course, Sell with Collabs. This is coming up in January, 4-day event on Zoom for authors, teaching them how to use collaborations and joint venturing to promote their books. And of course, once again, our awesome sponsor, JVIC, my partners, they are running the JV Experience, JVX, where I will be in 2 weeks. You should be there in 2 weeks. Everyone who's anybody, well, not everyone, most people who are anybody are going to be at JVX. So I highly encourage you to get there by plane, train, automobile, depending on where you are. If I start walking now, I could probably make it there from Connecticut, but I'm going to take a plane because that's a little bit more efficient. So that's what we got coming up. And stick around because we're about to talk to Melanie Benson.
And now,
Hello, Melanie.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. What a great way to introduce the show with all those great opportunities.
Yeah, that's good. It started with that, and then I realized that the guests were actually more the attraction, because there's various places to find affiliate partners. But really, the purpose of this show and part of what you're here to talk about is there's so many different ways to do JVs, so many different forms of them, from launches to embedded webinars to pre-recorded like live to freebie exchanges to everything else. And so many people, they only know their own little corner of it. So I like bringing people on who can share different, this is what works for me, this is what works for me. So for those who in the audience who do not know you, tell us a little bit about Melanie Benson.
Sure. So I am a expert-based entrepreneur coach. So I work with people who have an expertise, like a coach, a consultant, a course creator, and I teach them how to stop being a best kept secret and start being a highly paid authority in their market. And I do that through various coaching opportunities and online trainings. And I've been in this business for 22 years this year.
Wow. So you're not exactly new kid.
I'm not a spring chicken.
Yeah.
Or maybe I am. I don't know.
Yep.
And relevant to the conversation today, I'm the host of a podcast called Amplify Your Success. I've been podcasting for about 10 years. And my podcast has recently, well, I guess over the last years, made it into the top 1.5% of the 4 million podcasts worldwide. So not a shabby accomplishment there. And I recently just started co-hosting a new podcast called Next Level Influence with another friend of mine. And I found that podcasting has become a really significant part of the puzzle pieces that work for my strategies to help people stand out in a crowded market.
Makes sense. All right. So I'd love to learn a bit about what kind of joint ventures you do. Because I know when we emailed, you said, well, I don't do leaderboards and that kind of thing. And I was like, good, because I want to know what else people are doing in the space. So how are you using joint ventures and partnerships to grow your business?
Yeah, and I'll just say I've been partnering and collaborating and doing joint venture type stuff since like 2004. And it's taken a lot of different forms over the years, but I made a lot of money partnering with people. But what I found was like the traditional kind of like big contests and leaderboards was not really feeling aligned for me. And so I really focused on collaborations. And when we talk about collaborations, it's like, okay, what is visibility, or what is a promotion that you have? What is it that I have? How can we get creative and find ways to spotlight each other? And I do things from very simple podcast swaps, which I'll unpack that in a minute, to I will support people in promotions and they support me in promotions, but I just don't do the contests and the leaderboards because it just doesn't work for me in my business. So the podcast swap is a really easy way to start. And if I'm being truly transparent, which I like to be, I actually started my podcast as a way to open up conversations with other influential experts in my market. I wanted a way to have a give, meaning I wanted to give value first, knowing that all that value wasn't always just going to come from my list and the promotions I would do for them. And I knew that, I channel my inner Oprah when I do my interviews. So I give people really great showcases, and people actually get business from my podcast, just like I get business when I'm on other people's podcasts. And so I started with that, with the idea that let me test drive this relationship with inviting you to my podcast. Let me show you value. And then let's keep the conversation going, which, Michael, this is where I think a lot of people who they say, hey, I tried being guests on podcasts, I got nothing out of it. It's because they really didn't understand what the full value spectrum was of being a guest on a podcast. It's not just, I'm going to put a conversation into the airwaves and get clients. Like, that's one factor. But I think a lot of the value is the opening of a new connection with somebody who's obviously already cultivating a community of people that could benefit from what you do, and vice versa. So I like to start by delivering massive value, whether they're a guest on my show or I'm a guest on their show. And once we've established like, hey, we have a really great synergy, there's something here, we like each other, there's more to this than just this podcast conversation, then we start to look for ways, well, what else is there? And the desire to promote me and me promote them comes much easier when we've established that first value step, if you will.
Okay, yeah, and that's how I use podcasts as well. So I completely, the two of the things I use podcasts for are making connections and learning. I find the best way to educate myself is to talk to really smart people and have them teach me things. Thus, this being one of my 5 shows where people teach me about me and the audience about joint ventures and what they're doing, and I learn a lot there. But you're totally right. That's not just about the audience, and you're not going on Oprah. You're not.
Yeah.
Most podcasts aren't going to put you in front of 22 million people. They're first going to put you in front of one person.
I will say, I think some people try to rely only on that podcast swap. And that may work for some people, but what I discovered last year was, okay, that's great, but it's not enough. It's not enough to complete the puzzle. And so we kind of upped our ante a little bit and started doing some kind of monthly promotion where we would invite, somewhere around 3 to 5 partners to collaborate with us and promote that particular event, whether it's a webinar, because I have a couple webinars I do. I kind of rotate between a couple subjects. And then 2 to 3 times a year, we'll do some kind of big event where sometimes it was a giveaway. The next 6 to 12 months, there's going to be like a 1-day or 2-day event that we might invite a few collaboration partners into. So what I try to do is I try to find what is the big win where it's not just me building my list and attracting clients, but there's massive opportunity for the promotional partner as well.
And so you mentioned, the large webinars and especially giveaways. So giveaways are often driven on things like leaderboards to encourage people to promote the giveaway. That generates the traffic that creates the value. And so you don't do much with leaderboards and prizes. So how do you run your giveaways that it doesn't have that vibe to it?
Yeah, so when I do giveaways, and I've seen them done all different ways, it's basically like if you're one of the contributors, and the way I did it was the pay to play. Like, so everybody paid a very small amount of money, and everybody had a commitment to promote a certain number of times to their full list. And what we did was, I think the last time I did it, I did have like a little contest where anybody who was in the top 5 got additional exposure to my list. So what I did is I reversed it a little bit, and I invited a bunch of people who'd never been on my podcast, except for a couple longtime friends. And what I did is I basically said, everybody who makes the top 5 will get an invitation to be a guest on my podcast. So I try different things. And honestly, like most people I know, they're not really driven by the money per se. They're looking for a way to establish a longer term collaboration opportunity. So it's like, okay, let's see what kind of opportunity can emerge. And so people are willing to jump into something knowing there's going to be more cross promotion and collaboration on the back end. And one of my values I look for in a partnership is, are we looking for a long time partnership where we're going to promote each other over and over and over again? Or is this somebody who's only interested in like gathering some promotional partners to promote whatever they have? I might do that once in a while if I like what the person has to offer, but I'm looking for long-term cross promotion partners where there's a synergy and a desire because we like each other and we like what each other's doing, and there's a fit between my offering and their offering, and we want to promote each other over and over and over again.
Okay. And it sounds like if I'm not hearing this wrong, it sounds like you're starting from, I like you, you like me, how can we help each other? As opposed to, I've got a launch, who can promote it?
Yeah. That is my personality. That is my, kind of my way of being. And that feels more aligned for me than, hey, who's going to promote my launch?
So I love the concept. My thought then goes to, does it, relationships don't necessarily scale. So if as you keep meeting people, I know with the podcast I'm meeting 5 people a week just on the shows. not to mention all the networking activity as the guy who knows a guy.
Yes.
So is it a matter of you meet a lot of people and then curate down to a percentage of them be the ones you have long-term partnerships with, or do you just spend a lot of time talking to people and cultivating relationships, or how do you do this high touch relationship cultivation
Yeah.
at scale?
Well, I think it's not realistic to have high touch at a large quantity unless
Mhm.
you're in some kind of a group where that there is a structure to the group. And that is one of the things we're going to be introducing. I'm a part of a couple of groups like that. But what I find is that that podcast conversation, I'm churning content every week. I have to have new energy, new life. So that is a natural way to have that first conversation, which makes
Mhm.
it such a perfect vehicle to create, kind of like start the conversations. And then one or two things happen. One, they go into the bucket called, oh my gosh, there's a ton of synergy. We know there's something here, and we're gonna kind of be like in that top 20 center of influence list with each other. And we're going to actively nurture that relationship. Or the second ring is, hey, there's something going on. Let's just kind of keep on each other's radar. And if something's coming up, let me know about it. And that requires some organization where either you need to have a person on your team help with this, or you've got to be really, really good at follow up, where you've got to have some kind of vehicle to kind of trigger a reminder to follow up with people, which we use some technology for that.
Okay. Yeah, because that's where I see the churn of people makes sense. But if you're talking about
Yeah.
your top 20 great connectors, well, if you have a weekly podcast, that's 52 connections a year just
Mhm.
from the podcast,
Yeah.
plus introductions, plus events, plus organizations, and all that. But so I imagine a lot of people go into something more passive, like where you just send them an email every quarter, or you'll have a newsletter for them, or how do you stay in touch with the rest
Yeah.
of
Well,
the people?
what I try to do is figure out, okay, where are they going to land? So are
Mhm.
they interested in promoting our monthly webinar or whatever that month's event is? And so they go into a system where they say, yes, I'm going to promote that. The second thing that happens is if there's no commitment to anything, there's a follow up about 90 days later. Hey, what do you got going on? And what can we do to support you? Hey, are you open to promoting something? And so in the beginning, there's like an active follow up, and then it's a little more passive where there's like 90-day touch points. So I haven't gotten to the point where I used to do like a monthly touch base with all my partners. I got away from that just because we weren't doing a lot of active stuff. About 6 years ago, I kind of took a break from all of it. But that's actually a good idea, Michael. I might have to introduce that again.
You're welcome. You can, yeah. I was thinking about the follow up. I started using Dex, which is getdex.com, and of course, as soon as I found this thing that I've been looking for years, someone said, "Oh, there's something else that actually does the same thing better." I'm like, "Oh, now you tell me." But one of the things it has is an automated reminder. So
Yeah.
everyone who's in there, you tell it, "I want to get back in touch with this person every month, every 3 months, every 6 months," because the people you'll meet are like, "I don't know how we're going to work together today, but we should stay in each other's radar." But if you meet 10 people a week, there's no way to keep track of. Yeah, I don't remember half the people I met last week, let alone 6 months ago. So yeah, the technology and the team is definitely a huge part of that.
Yeah. I think having the podcast helps a lot because we also re-air episodes. So it
Ah, okay.
keeps my name in front of strategic partners. And when they start getting leads and people are saying, "Hey, I heard you on Melanie Benson's Amplify Your Success," and then they're like, "Ah, man, I've gotten so much business." And the ideal partners for me are gonna have that little law of reciprocity
Mhm.
energy kick off in their brain and go, "Gosh, like what can I do for Melanie?"
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it is a personality and a value system. I'm sure you would agree. Like, not everybody is a natural born collaborator and partner. I lean into the people who are naturally that way. And don't spend as much energy trying to kind of nail down people who aren't really that way.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. So if people do want to connect with you and want to have a partnership conversation or learn about your podcast or anything else, where
Sure.
should they go to find you?
Yeah, you can find me at melaniebenson.com. And if you're interested in collaborating or you think you might be a good guest for the show, you can go to amplifyyoursuccesspodcast.com. And On that page, there is a way to pitch me for the show. And we look at those to see like what's a good fit. And, we review them about every 4 to 6 weeks to see what kind of new guests might emerge from that. And I'm super active on most of the primary social media channels. That's a place where a lot of these conversations emerge in the first place, which, love to connect with you there as well.
All right. Well, again, it's MelanieBenson.com, which hopefully I spelled right.
You got it.
Nice. I can spell. Sweet.
It's not the easiest name to spell, too. You would be blown away how many spelling versions of that I've gotten.
With a Y or silent Q or whatever. So thank you so much, Melanie, for being on the show. It's been great to have you on here. And I always like, all kinds of different insights. I think especially podcasts, I think there's a lot of people out there who don't have podcasts who are like, so I hear about podcasts, but do I need 10,000 listeners? How's that work? So I really appreciate you diving into that area, because podcasts, frankly, the connection I made through a podcast is how I got introduced to JVIC, which is why I'm now running this show here. So, podcasts are a powerful way to make some connections.
It is. And it's a great way to attract clients too. So I'm a big fan.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.